In case this is your first EDgun Leshiy video, or you're the type that needs a little gentle reminder, this is a pest control video, where I will be controlling the population levels of nuisance animals in my yard, where they're destroying my house and property, or I'm helping farmers and landowners alike with pests within their respective properties, where birds can destroy equipment and eat significant amounts of feed intended for their livestock. Around my home and other urban environments, I can't be shooting into the trees. So I built this table for one using these oak trees as a safe backstop, allowing me to use suppressed air guns like the EDgun Leshiy 2 for safe and humane dirt naps. Hopefully that clears things up and or provides you the context needed in order to enjoy the rest of today's visual portion of the EDgun Leshiy educational program. 2024 was a wild year on the EDgun Leshiy channel. We began the year with a bang as we answered the age-old question, is a 45 cal too much for squirrels? Yeah, it was. We then had hours of 9mm tracer footage to help us really settle once and for all what airgun was king for hunting and pest control. Then came the introduction of Tannerite ammo from EDgun West, where we did lots of testing on this ammo that goes boom to educate ourselves on the effectiveness on small game. In 2023, we did the original lethality testing on a ballistic torso that made the airgun fuds wet their depends in the comments. So naturally, in 2024, we ran it back, but this time to see how the 9mm EDgun Leshiy 2 would perform at longer ranges on that ballistic torso. We got out of my backyard and went on a trip out west to lay the smackdown on some dairy farm flying tree rats. And then finally, to wrap up 2024, we had some good old father-son time where we locked ourselves into a rat-infested warehouse where we put the 9mm EDgun Leshiy 2s to work, dishing out thousands of dirt naps. So buckle up, we got a lot of great footage as we look back at the best of 2024 on the EDgun Leshiy channel. Over the years, I've used all the calibers, from 177 on rats, 22 on pigeons, 25 on pretty much everything, like this little chipper's face. 7.62, or as we like to call it around here, the Dirty 30, was great on little chip shots like this, as well as the long ones. The 9mm, though, my current EDC, has been doing a whole lot of heavy lifting of late. But if you've been around here long enough, you know I'm always open to pushing the limits in the name of science to educate you all on all things Pew Pew. So, let's pause for a sec to get my lab coat on and safety glasses, of course, because your pal and pest control professor EDgun Leshiy, I got something new in the mail. This guy, this 45 cal big bore air gun, the Bush Pig carbine from Western Airgun, sent to me by EDgun West. Shit. The pressure that you fill the gun to essentially allows you to shoot super heavy slugs like these 470 grain monsters, or these much smaller hollow point options like this 150 grain guy from Mr. Hollow Point. For small game, the smaller and faster projectile, especially it being a hollow point, is going to result in something like you're seeing here, where the heavy slug going much slower is just going to put a big clean hole like this shot here. The faster moving 150 grain slug results in explosions on impact, but don't let the lack of visuals fool you. This heavy and slow method dumps more of its energy into the critter, resulting in tumbling through the air like you just saw. This one I'm going to have to edit around for YouTube, but from an educational perspective, the takeaway is a 45 cal slug will snap the head right off a squirrel. Quick, very humane, practical, nope. .45 is just an absolutely crazy caliber for small game, and I think we just proved that. But just in case you're still on the fence, let's check out this shot. I first got my hands on the 9mm EDgun Leshiy 2 in 2023, but in 2024, man, the entire channel was dominated by this setup as it quickly became my everyday shooter. So, let's kick things off with a little reminder on why this is my favorite airgun of all time. Ah, so close with that double tap. The chipmunks typically explode upon impact with this round. The squirrels, though, they have a more of a internal combustion reaction. But all that energy's got to go somewhere. And on this shot, I think it's pretty clear. Pop goes the eyes. Man, that thing just canoed its dome. Oh. I'm going to really slow it down here so that you can just see the amount of energy dumping into this guy. Yep, that's a DSBL for sure. Things escalated rather quickly with the Tannerite pellets, but let's go back to day one, when they first arrived in 22 cal, and I had no clue that these things would take the BB gun internet by storm. Now, before we go any further, we all have established that I hate tree rats, more than the average human, but a humane dispatch is always my goal. So before any fur was gonna fly, I needed to do some testing, and not just on a target. I think I got just the thing for that. These are 20 grain pellets by themselves, so going about 805 feet per second. So that's plenty of power in their own right for small game. But with the boom, add to the energy dump. So what I saw made me think 100% yes. The wound channel goes all the way through, so it's a clean pass through. But right within that first inch, that explosion created what looks like quite a large pocket there. So this science experiment definitely gave me the confidence that the pellet was accurate enough and it was producing more than 2x the energy needed for a squirrel. And I felt confident that this was going to work out and be a quick little dirt nap. What I didn't know, though, how would it react with a headshot where it would immediately hit bone? Only one way to find out, guys. This first one came down a tree and I wasted no time. Honestly, all I can say about this shot was I was completely unprepared for how loud a headshot was going to be with these things. Holy shit. I was so caught off guard. I had no idea if that first shot was clean or not, so I decided to send another one into it just in case. While still pretty loud, the shot to the vitals was definitely quieter. Kind of similar to the ballistic gel one, as I think the explosion was happening just inside versus the headshot, it was right at the skull. So it was just so much louder. It wasn't until I got downrange until I realized how destructive this pellet is. Oof. Now that is quite the hole. It's a hollow point though, so I'm not sure if the boom did anything. You know what? I think we need some more testing. A few weeks later, I got this video sent to me in a text. Hundreds of boxes of 25 cals have arrived. These have about 2x the amount of boom juice in them, so let's see how that translates to fur. As always, let me slip into my lab coat here and get these safety glasses on, because class is now in session. These things are incredibly loud at impact, so I definitely deploy the good enough for government work when I zero this thing in my backyard. But I dial it in here as we go, and as you'll see, it doesn't really matter because these things go mega boom. Here it comes. Oh, man. Now that shot looked a little bit low, but it still anchored this one, as if we watch it again here, in slow motion, you'll see after it goes a little bit low, although I still think that's a kill shot, it went full frontal and it went through his chest, all the organs, and right out his brown eye. Today, we got our lab coat, safety glasses, and a fire extinguisher ready as something crazy arrived in the mail from my good buddy Brian over at EDgun West. Some 9mm Tannerite slugs. In this first shot here in my basement range, that'll help explain the fire extinguisher, because yeah, these things not only go mega boom, but they bring the heat. The next morning, it was good enough for government work kind of zeroing again, as these things are just crazy loud. So we got a couple that were close enough, and then off we go as we continue our educational series on the effectiveness of ammo that goes, in this case, mega boom. This first one went a little high, but holy moly was that loud. And from my vantage point, in real time at least, it looked like it even started to cook this thing. And we'll definitely see it in slow-mo here on the way down. Look at this. Oh,
Look at the smoke coming out of this thing. That hole is just ginormous. These 9mm things are just no joke. That was a catch, clean, and semi-cook. I think it's about medium rare, I guess, on the inside. Look at it. It's just smoking. It's hard to really explain just how loud these are on impact, but I can pretty comfortably say this. This is probably going to be a one-time vid for my yard, as a safe backstop is critical no matter what, but that's not really my concern here. These things are like 4th of July kind of boom, and with these small mics on the GoPros, it's just not going to do it justice, but you can still kind of tell. Oh. And from an educational perspective, though, if you're looking to see how effective these are just as an ammo-wise, yeah, incredibly effective. I don't think it gets much more humane than that, and that shot was pretty dang low. When they're quartering like this, I like to use the eye as a point of aim, as it's the path of least resistance to the off switch, the brain. So these slugs seem to actually penetrate a little bit deeper before exploding than the pellets do, which is why I think you're seeing this smoke just pour out right here, especially. You'll see it. See how that just continues to pour out? It's crazy, but I think that's what's happening. Another off switch on a squirrel for a point of aim perspective is right at the base of the skull where the spine connects to the brain. If you hit this, the squirrel just locks up and it just freezes in time. And you'll notice when it hits the ground, there's zero shaking. It's because you're disrupting the ability from the nerves to get to the brain and telling it to shake a little bit. And that's exactly what's happening here. Gonna turn that black and white to YouTube doesn't like that red color very much, but watch as it hits the ground here and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. See, zero movement. The other way to get to that spot is a headshot like this one, where you go from forehead through the brain and then you sever that connection at the base of the skull. Now this one gets a little graphic, so we're gonna have to use that black and white a couple of times, I think, here. Now, initially, it's kind of quartering to me a little bit, but I give it that little Leshiy kiss that looks right at me, and I send it. You can see how this was a delayed boom as well. And with that, if you're questioning the added power of these things, quite a bit more comes out of this than smoke. Watch this. Now, is that coming out because of, you got an 83 grain piece of lead going through the brain? Yeah, maybe, but I don't know, man. That boom, I think it's doing some extra.
The 9mm puts out about 120 foot-pounds out of the 450mm barrel. And with that comes great responsibility. So in 2023, we set the BB gun world on fire when I did a safety video showcasing the power using this ballistic torso. To say the forum FUDs had a meltdown was an understatement. I guess safety is less important to them than ensuring people fully understand the capability of modern-day airguns. So shame on me for throwing a few to the dome of this zombie in the name of science. There was also quite a few people asking about longer ranges. These were all done at 10 yards, so I don't think our safety experiment was quite over. So I procured a couple zombie heads and headed to the farm to see what would happen at 100 yards. So I got the camera crew all set up and a clear lane to throw a few downrange. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that that is a dead zombie. Now, as a professor of dirt naps, I can only educate, and my hopes are that this was a not-so-gentle reminder that the 9mm semi-auto EDgun Leshiy 2 is no toy. Our 2024 adventures continue. This time, we headed west, where we linked up with Dylan from the Airgun Outfitter in Boise to help clean up a few dairy farms that had been invaded by pigeons, starling, and some annoying house sparrows. Setup-wise, we have two 350mm Leshiy 2s and 25 cal shooting 32 grain EGW pellets at about 840 feet per second, using primarily tripods. And this one is actually my 9mm, which I was able to turn into an incredibly efficient 25 cal. More on that maybe in another video if you guys are interested in the technical side of how I set these things up. We basically just work our way around the main barn, smoking birds from 40 to 100 yards along the roof line like these shots right here. If you hit these guys in the magic spot, they don't move an inch. But sometimes, like this shot, they make it a few flaps and then they just dive bomb into the ground. And as far as the house sparrows go, with a 25 cal, they basically just blow up like this. We then give the ones outside a little bit of a rest and get a reprieve ourselves from the wind, and we would duck inside of the barn, where we were presented with closer range shots like this from 20 to about 45 yards. This farmer didn't care, but we were definitely poking holes shooting 25 cal that hard in the sides of these barns. In retrospect, I probably should have brought a 22 and something a little bit lower power. I've got plans to get back out here in 2025, but this time I'm going to bring along my son. And speaking of which, 2024 ended on a high note, as I got a chance to introduce EDgun Leshiy Jr. as he tagged along with me on a trip down to a rat-infested warehouse. I didn't know what to expect when I was invited to a rat-infested warehouse. All my buddy told me was, bring as much air and ammo as you can. So, I loaded up the truck and off we went. And a few hours later we arrived. And whatever I was thinking on the way down, well, this place was 1,000 times worse. There were rats everywhere. And this isn't your average recycling facility. This place has become the ultimate rat nest. And tonight, we're taking it back. This was my son's first experience shooting critters, and I was incredibly proud of not just his shooting, but his willingness to absorb the knowledge my friends and I were kind of passing along to him. Safety, tactics, and of course, some good old locker room kind of banter between buddies. And as I told him on the drive home, there's no such thing as bad words, just bad timing. So when your mom asks how it went, just tell her, well, why don't you leave out some of the details. I shot this one off the wall above, and then my son, well, he decided it needed one more. This is a massive infestation, with rats lurking in every shadow, under every pile of garbage, and every crevice. But to maximize our efforts, and quite frankly, keep them from running over our feet, we need to take the high ground. So we head to the top of the warehouse, where there's these platforms that offer access to the tops of the machinery, and coincidentally, offer the perfect perch for us to sit and snipe. The length of pull was a little long for him still, but since this is a digital scope, he'd have no issue with parallax. So he adjusted to make it work with his tripod setup. Man, this little guy is a natural though on the trigger. And after a few minutes of getting him to really kind of understand the sector of fire that he was assigned to, he was sniping away. This place is huge, and from our sniper side, we had shots ranging from 20 to 75 yards. Footage-wise, the night vision really gives you guys a good look at just how big and gross these rats are. But as you get further away, you can see it's just a bit harder to see them, especially contrasting against the concrete and garbage. This is where the thermal really shines. But either way, you're gonna slam them in a place like this, and that's exactly what we did.
doubles on rats weren't actually all that uncommon at this place, so here's my first one of the night. That one that was behind actually only made it about 2 feet before it fell in a bucket down below. And then I found one more right there. I had to take a piss, so I headed down to the break room armed with a thermal setup where I was able to get these big boys. And then right after I got these guys, I was able to kind of flank the others, which were on a different side of that trash pile from where we were shooting before. So there is zero chance I'd ever walk around this place and not be armed with some sort of weapon. These poor bastards that gotta work at this place, man, these guys deserve a raise. We had been concentrating on the back, kind of further into the warehouse for so long. Well, I looked down below us, and they were within 15 yards, just hundreds of these things. So I grabbed the Leshiy 2 9mm with the night vision on top, and I just went to work. With a 9mm, you can basically hit a rat anywhere. So this guy got the old Texas heart shot. And this one was a little bit more traditional for this channel. Right to the dome. If you enjoyed that clip, you should click this thumbnail to see the full video.